Right, okay, let's start a new scene and we're gonna save our project there. So the very first thing that you do before you create anything is to make a project folder. So that project folder is a place where you store all your external images, your links and stuff like that. So it's not just your model, your paintings go into the project folder. So one of the reasons why we create project folder is meant for passing on work or it's meant for submission purposes. So if you were to just link your images directly from your computer, right, different parts of your computer, by the time you submit your scene file, you're going to realize that it's gray in color, okay? It's going to be like just no color, no texture information, because all the paintings are found in other parts of your computer that you did not submit. Okay, and all the links will be broken. So by creating a folder, the links will stay within the folder. So when you submit stuff, right, everything will be in one place and the internal links will not be broken. So it's very important before you create anything or before you open anything to set your project first, okay? So File, Project Window, File, Project Window, alright? And let's just create a new project. And over here, we're going to give you a name. So let's standardize our naming convention, okay? It's going to be like that for all your assignments. Everything you do has to follow conventions. Okay, when you go out to work, it's the same thing. It's for organization purpose. Okay, so start with your student number, underscore, your name, underscore, week 1, underscore, sorry, it's very long, huh? Toy car. Okay, and then make sure that you determine the location. So click on the folder next to location, and I'm going to choose, I'm going to save it on my desktop. And the rest of the stuff, you can leave them as default. So these are the names of the folders that will be created. So for different studios, sometimes they name it differently. Okay, so you might want to change that name, but for us, right, we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, even the location is default. So unless you are working from server as a group, then you might want to set all this default stuff. Okay, now just press accept. And let's go to where you save your folder. You're going to see a folder being created like that. And when you open it up, you can see all the whole stack of folders being created. So when we save our scene, it's going to be in the scenes folder here. This is where you look for your Maya scene, right? A lot of the folders that are created, we're going to delete them away once you do your submission, but that will be much later on. So focus on just the scenes folder for today. So after we have created the empty folder, right, it's still empty, okay? Your scene is not saved. We just set project, that's all. So what we're going to do is save our untitled scene. So let's go to File and Save Scene. Yeah, File, Save Scene. And then you're going to see the top part here, it says look in whatever desktop, right? So this is the directory where you're saving it. At this point in time, you're still not saving inside the right location. So let's look at our current project to your left hand side. Okay, the current project is toy car, right? So correct. Okay, it should be toy car. Default is somewhere in your documents folder. Okay, it's a default thing that Maya creates. So let's just make sure it's inside toy car. Select scenes. Yeah, you should have the directory up here being updated. Okay, over here. So once you have a directory like that, you can start saving. So I'm going to save it as, okay, let's just put 01 tryout. Right? So there's a reason why I'm saving as 01. Okay, we are doing versioning. So we are saving everything as like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So each time you put a name behind, right, make sure it is logical. Okay, it kind of describes what you did in this version. So if in the case of, like, let's say your scene gets corrupted, okay, and you lose everything there, at least you lose like 1 hour of work. Okay, you still have like the previous version to go back to. Or in the case whereby you are trying out something that you're not sure of, you might want to save as a different version, and then if it fails, right, at least you can backtrack. Okay, so these are all the techniques, right, to help us stay on time for our commercial project. So it's very important practice to do. You know, a lot of the students' work that I encounter, right, you guys like to name it as this is my final scene. Then the next one will be the finest one, I promise, okay? No more, this is the last one. So it just goes on and on, the name just gets longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. It doesn't make sense after a while. Alright, so when you do some changes, make sure you number it and write down exactly what you did. Okay, it's logging. Now file type, we're gonna change to Maya ASCII. Okay, so your default is Maya binary, right? So what's the difference between these two? Maya binary is a smaller version of ASCII. Now the difference is that ASCII saves a code, a file, okay, containing code of your scene. So in the event that you lose your file, right, like your file gets corrupted, and when you open up, either you see gibberish or you see nothing at all, ASCII can be recovered by the computer engineer. Okay, so they can open up your file in a text document, look at the code, maybe get rid of certain things that is corrupting your scene, and then it might be recoverable. But for binary, there's no such thing. There's no extra file being saved together with the scene. So the moment your scene gets corrupted, right, that's it. Okay, you have to start over again. Right? So of course, I'm not any computer scientist, I can't do that for you, okay, but make it your habit to save as an ASCII. Those of you who are very good programmers, you might be able to understand the ASCII language.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, so find him, okay, when your things get corrupted. Okay, so make sure you're in the scenes folder and do a save. Now we're just gonna clear our scene, so let's go to file. I like repeating what I say. Okay, go to file and click new scene. Yeah, by the way, if I go too fast or if I'm doing something that you've never seen before and I never explained it, right, you can just stop me, okay? So if I'm like clicking something. Okay, so go to file, new scene. You can quickly do a save. Okay, Command S or Control S on your keyboard. Make sure you're back in your scenes folder, and I'm going to type 02 toy car blocking. It's not exactly blocking because, okay, maybe not toy car blocking. Let's do toy car body. Okay, so let's start from brand new. It's 4:14. Let's try and finish as much as we can. Okay, now to be considered a good 3D modeler, right, our job is basically to be a very good photocopying machine. So anyway, before I came to Ngee Ann, actually what my role or my job in the industry is a 3D modeler and texture artist for TV series. Okay, so work in one of the local companies called Sparky Animation. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, So our job is basically to model stuff and to texture. So different companies run differently. Some companies focus on just modeling. That means the modelers just do modeling. The texture painters are people who are very good in digital painting. So they just focus on creating like very detailed textures, paintings of rust and like things that are spoiling, scars and things like that. Okay, so makeup artists basically. So, but there are companies who join both roles together. So you're expected to model and texture at the same time. That's why I said the more you know, the more versatile you are. It is not good to specialize too early in your career. Okay, so learn a lot of things, and you doesn't have to get very good at it, but know a lot of things. It will get you anywhere. You have a lot of opportunities because of that. Alright, and then as you find the things that you like, and as you get more prominent in the industry, you can afford to go deep and start to specialize if you want to. There are people who stay as generalists, and they are very pro generalists in the sense that they know everything deeply. So generalists doesn't mean shit, okay? They just know everything very well. That's all. So yeah. So in our case, our goal as a 3D modeler is to recreate this as closely as possible. In fact, right, if you watch some cartoons, like if you're familiar with the 2D version and then you see the 3D version, sometimes the 3D version is a bit off, right? In terms of the movement or even the looks, it's like stiff. Correct? So in that sense, right, the 3D artist did not do a good job, okay, of transferring what was 2D into 3D. So you need to maintain the appeal, you need to maintain the proportion, you need to maintain the 2D feeling. Okay, that means it still must look like the character when it was in 2D, only that it's in 3D, that's all. Okay, so our job as an artist is not technical, so technical is one thing. You know what buttons to press, okay, that is one thing. But if you can't recreate the same feeling and the same proportion, then technically you're not doing your job well, right? So with that in mind, we're going to constantly flip across these two windows, okay, to look at the model and then to create it here. So let's just create our very first primitive. If you look at the body of the car, right, what is the basic shape of it based on like what's here? What's the basic shape that you can use? A what?
Square.
Square. Yes. Anybody else? Rectangle. Okay. Yeah. So basically, it's a blocky thing, right? So a square is 2D. Okay. So cube is 3D version. Okay. So we're gonna click on the cube, and it's gonna be created right smack in the middle. So before we change the size, let's make sure that we have the number of divisions that we want. So we're going to look at the inputs first, okay, and we're going to set the number of lines that we want to use. So you want to start with as low, like as simple as possible, so you have lesser lines to move around. Okay, so if please don't try this, I'll just show it to you. If you started modeling, right, and then you go, I changed my mind, I want to add some lines. Maybe I'll do it in the input. And then you go back to the input, right, the construction history here. And then you look at the polycube one. Okay, that's the construction history. Let's say I want to change to 3. And then happily change to 2 or whatever. You notice that okay, your mesh exploded, alright? So, construction history is very important that you change the settings straight away before you edit the mesh. In fact, a lot of the histories are that way. You need to change the settings before you continue. So why is there a need for history? Okay, if that's the case. One of the reasons is that some of the tools that you create, right, you lose the settings after that. After you click away, you're like, hey, what's the settings? How can I go back to change? So that's when you can immediately go back to the input and tweak some more until you're happy. Alright? Then after that, when you move on to the next step, it's best not to change it anymore. Okay, so let's just change the subdivision. I'm going to just put 2 all the way. Okay, so you can enter it one by one, or you can click and drag and then just put 2. So you can see it's divided into 2 polygons on every side in the X, Y, and Z. Okay, now the next step is blocking in the shape. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that the size is generally the same as our shape that we want to create. So I'm going to start from the bottom of the car, this like sitting area. So we're going to ignore the window area. Okay, so just imagine that this part is not there. So we want the size of the base here. So I'm just gonna maybe, yeah, let's move this to the side. And just try and scale. So what you can do is take your shape here and press the R key and just scale. Remember, right, you need to know where's the front, okay? So you need to make sure the Z is facing you. Okay, so roughly something like that. We are going to continue to tweak it as we go along. Okay, so once you have created a cube like that, we want to start creating additional lines so that we can pull out the window section, right? So the top part of the car. So I'm going to introduce to you a tool called Insert Edge Loop. Oh yeah, let's play around with the selection tools first. Okay, we already know how to select points, right? If we were to select additional points, you need to hold down Control Shift. Control Shift will change your cursor to a plus. So if you click, you can add to your selection. You can even click and drag to add to your selection, right? If you want to minus your selection, hold down Control. For Mac, it's also Control. There's no difference between the two. Okay, so Control, click and drag. Control Shift, click and drag to add. Control to minus, right? If you want to, if you press Shift, you might encounter something strange. Now, a lot of the Adobe programs, if you want to add to selection, you press Shift, right?
Yeah.
Even in your OS also, right? Your Windows, your Mac, it's the same thing. But in Maya, if you press Shift, right, it might look like you're adding, correct? So adding what? Same what? Why cannot just press Shift? The thing about Shift, you look at your cursor, it's a minus. Okay, what it does is, okay, I'm just going to show you in this mode. I will teach you this in a while. Okay, but let's say in the wireframe mode, if I were to press Shift and I just select everything, what do you see? By right, everything should be selected, right? If I let go, what happens? Yes, it alternates. It's a toggle. So Shift, right, is actually a toggle, not an addition. So a lot of times if you want to drag, right, and you think that you added something, you might have accidentally deselect some stuff that you already want. Okay, so Control Shift is the best way to go. The toggle, when you're more familiar, then you do it, okay? And it's meant for a particular purpose. It's not meant for like adding to selection. Okay, so next one is how to select edge loop. To select a line all around your object. okay, like this. If you double click on your edge, so right click, choose edge, right? And then double click on an edge, you can select the edge loop. So you can easily move the entire loop back and forth. So you don't have to like click, okay, very sad. Just double click on the line. Okay, so if it's okay, that one, how do you select face loop, how do you select vertex loop, I'll talk about it next time. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated, but let's just learn edge loop for today. Okay, double click and you get your entire loop. Now, one thing to take note about selection, especially if you do the click and drag kind of selection, right? So instead of just clicking one by one to select what you want, if you were to click and drag, you will notice that it selects the bottom and the back as well. You see that? So if I were to just like, let's say I click and drag this area, right? You can see that it actually selects the points at the back. So this is quite dangerous for newbies. So what you want to do is whenever you click and drag, right, always look around and kind of deselect the things that you don't want. Okay, so a way to quickly check is to go to wireframe mode. So the shortcut key for wireframe is 4. Shaded 5. 4, 5. Got it? So remember this for now. 4, wireframe, 5, shaded. So this is to help you check your selection, to know what you're looking at, so on and so forth. Okay, now let's add new lines to our guy. Okay, let's make him a car. So the tools that we're going to learn today is extrude and insert edge loop. 2 things. And they can be found, in fact, right, all of our mesh tools can be found in these 2 menus, edit mesh and mesh tools. Don't ask me why they're separated. It's a new Maya version thing. I hate it too. You know, they do have very good tools here, but I hate it that they split it that way. So if you can't find it in one, just look for it in the other one. Okay, it should be there. For those of you who don't see mesh, edit mesh and stuff like that, right? Totally different types of menu. The reason is because you are on the wrong menu set. So Maya is a huge program. There's hundreds and hundreds of buttons for you to press. It's basically one program to cover the entire production pipeline. So they have split up all the menus into departments. Like for example, what we learned, right? We've got modeling department, rigging, animation, visual effects and things like that. So if you find that you're in the wrong menu, okay, let's say I'm in my animation menu, for example, you can see that the menus change. Key, playback, so on and so forth. Okay. If I go to rigging, you can see that file, edit, create, select, modify, display windows, they are the same. But from Windows onwards, right, it's gonna change to whatever department you're in. Okay, so make sure that you're in your modeling department. So Windows onwards, you're gonna see your mesh menus. Okay, cool. So if you can't find, likely you're in the wrong department. Okay, go back to where you came from, right? And then just search for your tools. So I'm gonna find my insert edge loop, which is in my mesh tools. And you can see this insert edge loop here. If you click on it and there's an instruction here called click drag on edge. So if you click drag, oops, okay, just reset my tool. Okay, if you want to click and drag, you can determine where you want to place your edges. Simple, right? Okay, don't create too many, you're gonna undo. Right? So once you're done, just undo what you've added. And the reason why is I want to create the same distance from the front and the back. Now if you look at your car here, the front of the hood and the back of the boot, right? Sounds, ooh, it rhymes. Okay, front and back, they're the exact same length. You see that? It's roughly around the same. So we want to create a front back to be the same way. And if you were to control, if you were to click and drag, right, it's not going to be accurate. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the settings of insert edge loop, and we're going to make it so that it is accurate. So click on the box next to the word. Okay, the empty box here is your settings. So you can open up your tool settings and you can see like all the insert edge loop stuff, right? So the first thing I want you to do is to reset tool. Right? So it's under here. Where is it? Okay, this empty box here. Okay. First thing to do every time is to reset tool. Why? Because Maya remembers, right? Like the North remembers. Okay, so if you go to your, let's say you share iMac with the school, right? You use the school's iMac, or you use your own computer even. Sometimes you change the settings and you close Maya. Maya remembers what you have set. So some of the tools might perform very weirdly, like just now what you saw, right? My tool was different. So always reset your tool first. Okay. And the default is relative distance from edge, meaning that you click and drag. So what we want to create is multiple edge loop. And we want to set the number to 1. I want to create one edge loop from multiple edge loop, which is kind of strange. Okay, but you're going to see what I mean in a while. Right, so leave this window open. And we're going to go to the side here. And I want to click on one of my edge. So if you try to drag, right, you'll notice it doesn't go anywhere. It's basically fixed right in the middle. So it's very convenient if we want to create like equal sides, right? Okay, so the multi-edge loop is very helpful in a sense. Okay, so click to create edge loops for the front and back. Remember, where's your z-axis? Your positive z. Okay, it's the small guy at the bottom here. Okay, once we have created the edge loop, we're gonna scale it. Okay, we're gonna move the edge loop so that it's the same size as the hood and the boot. Okay, so it's definitely not so wide like this. So I'm gonna double click to select edge loop. Control Shift, double click to select the other one. Double click. Control Shift, double click. Okay. Press R. That's a scale tool. And I want to scale in my Z-axis, so I want to pull it outward so it matches the size of the hood and the boot. Okay, front and back. You can adjust later, so not to worry, but you want to kind of get it more or less there. Always work from the point of the artist, okay, not a technical person. So you should not be, of course you'll be bothered by the tools at the start, but you should not think about how the tools work mathematically. You should think about how you do things visually. Let's move on to the next part. So we're going to create the hood, as in the top of the car, the window area. So what we're going to use is an extrude tool. Okay, we're going to pull out polygons. So if you right click and choose face, make sure you select the 4 faces on top. So go to wireframe, right, just to check, make sure that you didn't select anything else. Okay. And I'm gonna use this tool called Edit Mesh Extrude. So the thing I hate about Mac is, it's not that I hate Mac a lot, but sometimes I say that a bit too much. Okay, but the shortcut key is like, okay, nobody knows what it is. It's actually I think Control E, right? I believe. Yeah. Okay. So if you understand symbols, you can decode this for yourself. Okay. For Windows users, it's just directly Control E, right? It's very simple. You can see it. Okay. So we're going to click on Extrude, and it comes up this hellish like gizmo thing that looks somewhat familiar but yet not familiar. It is actually a combination of 3 different gizmos that you're used to, okay? So you've got the move tool with the arrow. You've got your scale. If you click on the box, right, it will become a scale tool, so you can scale it. If you click on the circle, you get the rotation. So it's basically a 3 gizmo in one depending on what you click first. Okay, so just undo all your movements, and we're gonna click on the blue arrow and pull straight up. Now you must make sure that every time you extrude, you straight away pull your mesh out. Otherwise, right, if you quit your tool, for example, it looks normal, right? Like you never extrude. Okay, everything looks fine. But if you press number 3, 3 is the smooth mode, okay? You notice that there is actually an extra face that is hidden there. So it's gonna come back and bite you after that. Okay, so make sure that every time you extrude, you must pull it out. So I mentioned a shortcut key of 3, right? So we've got, Maya has been very consistent. We've got QWERTY. So now we've got 3, 4, 5. Now there is 1, 2. Okay, they didn't forget about it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is faceted mode. Okay, no poly mode. 2 is a low poly mode and a smooth mode. Right? 3 is the smooth version. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So 1 is the hard. Sorry, I shouldn't say low poly. Hard surface. Okay, it's very hard. It's very sharp. 2, you get to see the cage and the smooth mode. 3 is the marshmallow, the smooth look. Okay. 4 is your wireframe. 5 is your shaded. Again, if you forget, right, you cannot remember, what I like to do is I just press until I get what I want. Okay, I'll press in sequence. A, what's the move? Q, W, E, R, O, W. So I just press in sequence, right? So that is what you can do to get yourself familiar at the start. There's actually 6 and 7. Please don't press 8, okay? If you press 8, good luck, you must learn to get out of that mode. Okay, so 6 is, you don't see anything, but 6 is with texture. So if you got any painted stuff, it's going to show. 7 is lighting, so you got no lights, it's black. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's go back to 1. So usually I like to use 3, right, to check for any weird stuff in my model. Okay, so any wonky lines, that's something you have to take note of. Okay, so make sure when you pull out, now you might find that, I click away and my extrude is gone, right? How do I get back my extrude? So if you go to, remember your inputs again, our darling inputs, okay? So let's go back to our inputs and you'll see your poly extrude phase 1, right? If you click on the name, press letter T, your gizmo is going to come back out and you can go back to adjusting the size. Now it doesn't matter if you really lose it, right? Then just select the vertex and adjust, or select the faces and just use your move tool and just kind of adjust it, right? Okay, so try and get the height of the windows roughly around there. If you want, you can drag your car above the grid. The grid is the ground, okay? So you can kind of just move it up so you can see better. Okay, now save your work, file, save scene. So extrude, right, is different from moving the faces. Moving the faces is just moving whatever that's there up, right? What this does is it pulls up additional polygons at the side. It's kind of like an extension of itself. Okay, you're pulling out an arm or you're pulling out a finger. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to create that additional thing that comes out. Okay, so once we have the top of the car, next thing we're gonna do is basically a repeat of what we have already done. Okay, we've only learned what? Insert edge loop, insert edge loop, and we have learned extrude. Yes, okay. Two only, and these two can create your car, right? So although there are many more tools, we don't have to talk about them yet. Okay, we'll come to them in a while. Now, you notice that there is this line here that's not defining anything, right? And it's kind of useless. We have a middle line. This middle line is important. This is what helps us to mirror one side to the other. We won't be touching on mirror this lesson, okay, but just keep in mind to have like this guy here all the time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to get rid of this edge loop. Okay, and the most obvious thing you might think is delete lor, right? Delete and it's gone, isn't it? Now, if I were to press, if I were to look at vertex, you notice that the points are left behind, okay, and this is going to cause problems. In modeling, a lot of times when we create our models here, so this is the final look that I've created. If you look at the wireframe, this is Sketchfab, okay, it's like a website where you can post your 3D models and then you can kind of rotate them in real time. You can zoom. It's very cool. So there are some artists that really love, can just show you what they do. So some of you like anime manga style, right, which is very 2D. Okay, I'll just show you this. She's a game artist, I believe. Yeah. No. Follower. Where's the? Oh yeah, here. Okay. There is this artist that I really like. I think it's this one.
Wow.
Okay, not sure if you're familiar with her work, but really cool stuff going on. Like that.
Hey, Zach's a favorite.
So Sketchfab is really cool in a sense that you can really just look into detail. Last time during our time when we submit our portfolio for a job application, right, we had to submit printed copies, printed A3 copies, and our portfolio alone can cost us about $100 because one sheet is a couple of dollars, like $3, $5. Then you got so many, right? You can add up to 70, 80, you know, it's common. Okay, and if you apply for overseas studios, you have to send it over and say bye-bye. You never get it back. Right, so it's things like that. Some companies are nice enough, they send it back to you, but you're applying to multiple companies, right? You can't wait for months. So you're just saying bye-bye to hundreds of dollars. Okay, if you're applying overseas. So for local companies, most companies are already quite, actually most companies nowadays are already quite advanced in the sense that they accept digital copies. Okay, they're no longer like, hey, send me physical copies, but there are still some. There are. So you must learn, okay? So there are some that still want to see how you handle print. Okay, so anyway, Sketchfab is one of the newest, so not many people, I believe, outside of our industry, or sometimes even within, they might not know that this Sketchfab exists. Okay, so yeah, so sometimes they require you to send a video, a demo reel. You know the Autodesk show reel that I show you, right? Or the speech splash of videos. There's a show reel. Okay, so they expect you to send snippets of your work to them. So I will show you guys in assignment 1 how to create a show reel, because some companies still want to see. And for your portfolio submission, you need to create a Sketchfab as well. Okay, so which is like rotation. It's very cool. Okay, you get to see like exactly how they do the hair. This is she do it in a game model kind of style. So you can see how low poly is created. Like for example, this one.
Oh no, it's the metal ship I need.
You can see her hair. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Christian server.
Get used to it, okay? Yeah. Anyway, my channel is not exactly kids friendly either. So okay, this guy is a different. Anyway, there's a lot of followers that you can. There's a lot of people that you can follow now and then. Okay, very cool stuff like this guy, Pierre Oliver. I just found him recently. His stuff is really cool. To me, it's very cool. Okay, because it's like 2D, but it's actually 3D. Look at it. So there's really so much you can do with 3D. I mean, how cool is it to make your 2D work rotate, right? You know, so you don't have to stick to I want to be a 2D artist and 3D. You know. Look at this. Okay, so this is like painting, but it's 3D. Look at that. It's like, you know, the Walking Dead mobile game, right? If you play, you will know. Okay. Like that. Okay, so it's very cool. Go and explore, look at people's work, you know, like what's that? Is that blood? Oh yeah, it's blood. Okay, so your 3D doesn't have to scream 3D. Okay, there's so many options for you to explore. At the end of the day, have fun, right? Just have fun creating rubbish. Okay, I won't put what I say on, right? It's so cool, right? It's so cool. Okay, so yeah, do all these things during your holidays, no? Just set challenges for each other. So anyway, what I'm saying is that if you leave behind, oh yeah, I haven't shown you the wireframe. Happily showing you other things. Okay, let's look at boring stuff like the wireframe.
No, it's so boring.
Okay, now if you look at the wireframe for the car that was created, you notice that majority of the lines are all four-sided. Right? Perhaps, actually this is also four-sided. Sometimes you get triangles, like, but still four-sided. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, most of the time you're gonna get like either triangles or four-sided. Four-sided is the most common. You never see anything that is n-gon, five-sided and more, because it is the bane of 3D. Okay. What do I mean by that? If you were to just delete and leave behind vertex, okay, let me just smooth. Okay, when you smooth your model, it's gonna create crazy things like this, and you're gonna start seeing pinching. gonna start seeing like weird artifacts because, right, of your vertex that was here. See that? This guy is responsible for the pinch. Okay, and you'll be wondering, how come I have like such weird distortion when I didn't create anything there? Okay, it looks normal, you know, in your wireframe, nothing what, but it's sticking out. You see all this bumpiness is all caused by the left behind angle. So we must make sure that when we delete it's clean. So how do you do that? Shortcut key is Control Delete. Okay, Control Delete and everything's very clean. It can be found in your Edit Mesh menu. Okay, if you can't remember the shortcut key, it's here, right under Edit Mesh. Okay, so let's go back to what we were doing. So let's clean up this line. Okay, get rid of the extra line. Any line that is not defining anything, right, has no purpose, we have to get rid of it. Okay, so you get a very clean, simple model that doesn't tax your computer too much. After all, right, 3D is it still is a very expensive program in the sense that it takes up a lot of computer resources. So the more dense your model is, right, the harder it feels like to work. Okay, now I'm going to add frames to my model. So over here in your car, you can see that there's like frames before you have the window. So we need to insert edge loop again to create the frames. So before you extrude anything that goes in, right, that goes inward, okay, usually you want to create a frame. That's always the idea. Like for example, your projector lens, right, there's a hole for the lens. So you need to create the frame first, the circular frame, before you push it in. So I'm going to show you what I mean now. So let's just insert edge loop. Okay. So you can use the same setting, insert a singular edge loop that's right in the middle. And once you're done with that, scale it sideways. Okay, scale it sideways so it roughly matches the size of your frame. So you don't want it to be too wide. And then once you're done, insert 2 edge loops. So I'm going to go back to my settings, and I want to change the number of edge loop to 2. I'm going to click, so I create 2 edge loop at the top and bottom, and I want to scale up so that it defines the frame. So always go back, check. Okay, so it's roughly around there. Remember, artist first before you are technical person. Okay? So everything has to do with the final look. So you should have something like this, alright? So let's move on to try to create the window itself. Some of you are pretty ahead, so that's good. Now, I'm going to select the faces. Again, right, it's faces that you want to pull out, not edges, not points, okay? Faces. So I'm going to Control Shift click to add. And I want to do the front and back at the same time, so that my windows are being pushed in at the same depth. Of course, you can do them one at a time. You just have to eyeball, okay? It's not a big deal. So, so I'm just gonna, this is a faster way of working. So I'm just gonna select front and back faces like this. I'm gonna Control E, and the blue color arrow is the push in, right? Is the Z-axis. So I'm going to push in slightly. If you can't see, use the wireframe mode. Okay, 4, 5. right? Use the wireframe mode to kind of just push in. And let's look at our reference again. So you are always popping back to your reference, okay, back and forth, just to make sure you get it cool and nice. Okay, so just a little bit will do. So which is okay, what I've done is okay. So once you are done with it, you can press Q to quit, right? Back to selection mode, and you've got your window. Okay, so you can do the same thing for the other two windows. I'm just gonna quickly run through the steps so you get the idea of what it's supposed to do. Okay, so sometimes looking at workflow is better than following step by step. So I'm gonna go to insert edge loop again. I'm gonna look at my settings. So in order to access your settings quickly, if you see the tool here, right, you can always double click. This is a toolbox, right? So if you see your last used tool is the edge loop, you can always double click and you also open the settings. So I want to edge loop, yes. So click, two windows, right? And then I'm gonna select the front and back, scale, sideways. So maybe roughly around this length. Okay, and then the middle part is tricky because you don't want to be distracted by the center line. You can look at the size here. Okay, so roughly around this size, bam. Okay, so you get your window. Now select face, okay, 4 faces in total, and do a Ctrl E, extrude, and then push it in slightly. If you can't see what you're doing, work on wireframe. Okay, push in. Look, so yeah, after you get used to Maya, you gain speed. So oftentimes we slow down because we want to check proportion. Okay, so slow down to check your artwork. Always, right? So with that, we are done. Last thing to take note of before you guys continue to do your stuff. It's pretty hard to see your model like that, right? I mean, you can see some detail, but not all. So there is one button here that cannot use shortcut key at all, okay? This is called the wireframe on shaded. So this is wireframe, your number 4. This is shaded, number 5. Wireframe on shaded is a combo. So you will always get to see your wireframe even though your object is not selected. I didn't select, this is selected, this is not, right? So you get to like see it all the time. Okay? So to me, this is one of the best view mode to use. Okay, so save your work. Right, let's move on to the final 2 stage. We have only about 40 minutes left. Okay, so let's try and just finish up as much as we can. So we're going to try to add color as the final step. So before that, it looks good, right? Right now when you look at the hard surface. Now if you press 3, the smooth mode, suddenly it doesn't look too great anymore, isn't it? Okay, it looks nothing like this guy, okay? It's totally rubbish. And the windows are totally cannot make it, okay? What's this, man? So, and if you notice, some of you, your lines are not like smooth. That, yes, if you're curvy, right, means that your mesh has problems. You either have hidden faces or you have vertex that are like floating around, okay? So you need to get rid of those things and then your mesh will be fine. So most of the time for beginners, I would suggest that you redo rather than you fix, because fixing is going to take you a lot more time and you might not get to where you want to get anyway, okay? So most of the problem comes from delete edge loop. You never delete properly, you leave behind the vertex. When you extrude, you never extrude the faces, you never pull it out straight away. You leave it there and then you extrude again, right? Those will cause problem. So these are the 2 things that will happen. Extrude, never extrude properly. Delete, never delete properly. Okay, that's what causes most of the issues in meshes in general. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to sharpen the edges using edge loop. Now before we do that, right, let's actually look at what smooth really does. Okay, so if I take a cube here and I press 3, it's gonna straight away turn it into a ball. So what's going on? Alright, why is it a ball and a cube, isn't it? So what smooth does, let's make sure we have a cube like this. So I'm just gonna draw a 2D version of a cube. Right? So we have a nice looking cube in number 1 mode, in a hard surface mode. Now the moment we press 3, what happens is it takes 3 points, 1, 2, and 3, right? And it smooth between these 3 points. Okay, that's what really happens. That's why your cube, right, looks circular. So what we need to do is to make sure that these 2 points are close to the line. Okay, so if we create a point that is here, like edge loop here, right, and an edge loop here, what happens to your sphere is that instead of going so wide, it's gonna curve like this. So you get a very like rounded side, but it's very small. So did I mention to you, oh yeah, I think that's the morning class. So everything that you create in 3D, right, there's a reason why 3D looks very fake, okay? So if you look at your cube here, it's perfectly like sharp. You see that? It's perfectly 90 degrees and sharp, okay? Sharp until you can just cut through anything. Right, but in real life, if you look at the corners of your table, you look at, let's say, the remote control or things like that, it's not exactly sharp, it's kind of rounded by a little bit, and that roundness catches the highlight, okay? When light shines on corners of objects, right, you can see a very sharp highlight in this line, and that's what causes realism. But this is totally fake, okay, because there's no line there. So when you're doing like digital painting, for example, and then you want to make sure that your hard surface looks real, you actually want to create like this highlight here. Okay, and that's what essentially we're trying to do with 3D. When we press 3, we want to make sure that it has sharp corners but not super duper sharp, right? So I'm going to insert edge loop. I'm going to change the setting to relative, okay, back to original. And I'm going to click and drag close to the edge. So you can see straight away, bang, it sharpens, isn't it? So let's create another edge loop here. See this? So the moment you look at it, it's sharp, but it's not unrealistic. Can you see the highlight here? That's what you want to achieve in your drawing, in your painting. When you do shading for your traditional drawing, right, this is the thing that you want to take note of. Okay? This is what gives you your extra points. Okay? So things like super duper sharp over here. See this? It doesn't make sense anymore, right? But when you press 3, it's so much better. Okay, now we're going to insert more edge loop. The edge. Okay, bam. So how close you add, right, that's how sharp you'll be. Can you see this part is not super sharp? But if you bring your edge loop closer, okay, it sharpens even more, right? Less sharp, more sharp. Okay, so that's what we want to do essentially, is to add edge loop everywhere. Okay, so this is the final smooth version of your cube. As you can see, compared to the default here, the difference is massive, okay? Let's put it side by side. See this? Difference is massive, okay, in terms of what comes out and what shows as realistic to your audience. So like what I think just now we saw the soft image video, right? It says that essentially we don't want to create 3D that looks awkward, that looks unreal, okay, that looks fake. This is what he's talking about. That looks unrelatable. So this is totally, you cannot relate, okay, you don't see anything like that in real life. So this is what we want to see. So a lot of times, same thing for our mesh. I want to sharpen up this area. It's a little bit curved. You see this? So you're looking at silhouettes of your model. Okay, so over here, this part, it's a little bit curved. It's not super sharp. So we want to make sure that when we insert edge loop, this is definitely not the case, okay? When we insert edge loop, it's sharp but not super sharp. So I'm going to click and drag. Can you see straight away it straightens out? Okay, you want to pull so that it's not too near. Insert another edge loop. Press G, right? The letter G is to repeat your tool. Okay, reactivate your tool. So I'm going to just click and drag. So it's quite rounded, so you might want to ease it up a little bit. Just to make sure it's round. And if you ease like to the max that you can go, right? You can manually just move the point. Okay, so you're literally going into the detail right now, making sure that this line, this corner is sharp. Okay, next, over here can afford to have some sharpness. Again, insert edge loop, push to the end. Press 3. You can see it sharpens out. Okay, you don't want to push too close, so you must kind of like, okay, at this point in time, right, the hybrid number 2 is the best because you can see both at the same time. Okay, so same thing. Maybe for the window, I think for the base we can afford one more edge loop to tighten up everything. This can be a sharp edge. Okay. In fact, if you want super sharp, you might want to play cheat a little bit and move the bottom closer. Okay, now your window is rubbish, right? So we need to insert edge loop here. So this time around, I'm going to change to insert. There's my menu. Okay, to insert 2 edge loop. One for each side. And you can see straight away the window is showing some definition. It's very rounded because there's not enough edge loop. So maybe you want relative, maybe you want equal, I don't know, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm just going to put 1. Oops. Then I'm going to pull it out. Okay, so for your front window, it's still rounded. Okay, it's not super sharp like the corners. So you don't want it to be too close. Okay, so like kind of like a nice distance away is good. Insert another 2 more edge loop. Okay. Insert 2 more edge loop. Okay, try and close up the gap here. You might want to loosen it up. Okay, and you get like a really nice sharp edge. So can you take the next few moments? Okay, try and sharpen some of your edges. If you're not ready, right, you feel that you haven't modeled all the windows yet, don't do the sharpening. Sharpening is like your last steps, okay? So you can test, just play a little bit with it, and then undo all the stuff that you've done. Or you know, remember testing, you can save as, right, as a different version. Okay, right now we have this really blocky car, isn't it? And it's almost there. Oh yeah, it's a little bit short on the body, so I'm just gonna push it down some more. Okay, so it's almost there. All right, but the problem is very obvious, isn't it? The windows are rounded, and the front part. So you need a lot of observation to know what you're seeing. Okay, to look at the detail. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Okay, cancel. Okay. So if you look at the front window shield, you notice that it's actually not entirely straight, but the top here is curved backwards. Look at the silhouette, it's curved backwards. So a lot of times when we do 3D, right, if you can't see something in three-quarter view, you need to look at the silhouette, the outside edges. So that's when you can really see the shape. So this is curved. This part we don't know, okay, but we can kind of infer that it's the same as here. Can you see the highlight is curved? So these are all information to tell you that this whole thing, right, is curved. Okay, that's what made the other frame curve as well. So this whole portion we know is gonna curve, and we need to manually do that. So this is when you go into the detail. In fact, right, the curving, right, should be done before you tighten the edges. As usual, when you sharpen the edge, that should be the last thing you do, because you're adding a lot of lines, and by adding a lot of lines, it's very, very hard to control. Okay, so at this point in time, our step is kind of flipped, okay, but it's okay. Let's just go into, I'm gonna go into the side view. I'm going to go to the 4 panel, and I'm going to search for side X. Okay, I know for sure this is my window, right? So you can kind of select, maybe I shall add another edge loop in the middle. So I get a little bit more resolution to do the bend here. Okay, so let's make sure that our selection is okay. So I'm going to go to vertex. I'm going to start selecting from the side. Check in perspective. Yeah, right? Okay. And then I'm going to start to move. So you want to move in the blue arrow, not just like that. Otherwise you're going to break the top. Okay, so just move sideways. Control, deselect, move sideways. Control, deselect, move sideways. Control, deselect. Maybe you might want to select all these, move a bit more, and then lastly a bit more. So you're really going deep into the detail. In fact, in this case, right, I don't think we're working backwards, because with the edge loop, the moment you insert edge loop, you might create very hard straight surface. So if you do this as a last step, you can taper it, you know. Okay, then you'll understand when you get to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of taper. So you want to achieve manually the very round feeling. In fact, right, if you want to go super detailed, this corner here is rounded, right? So you want to push it in. Okay, just like what we did for this part. So now if we go back to our mesh, you can instantly see with a smooth view the curve. Okay, and if you want the window to be curved as well, again, it's a manual thing. So we want to go back, we want to make sure we select the right guy. Honestly, I'm not sure. Okay, so this is here, right? Sometimes I like to select one, and then I'll go to the side view and drag to select everything behind. So when you do a check, right, you can, oh, see, it's still not exactly selected. Okay, so see that? Everything is selected. Now you want to start to curve. Maybe this part I can curve it too. Okay, so it's going into the details, and the devil is in the detail. Okay, so you need to make sure you can capture the likeness. Okay, something like that. Right, so compared to the back window, can you see the difference? Very vast, isn't it? So when you put in the effort to push all details like that, right, it starts to show. See? And you notice that the bottom is not exactly that round compared to here. So you might want to adjust your vertex for just the window area. So the window area, make sure you don't select the front. Window area, okay, I'm just gonna do this. You won't know what you're selecting from the side, so you need to check again. And then kind of just deselect, okay? And right, okay, maybe one more line. And what I'm gonna do is push down this line so that it helps to tighten the bottom. Okay, so the moment you try and push, it tightens up the shape. So the rounded shape here will look better in your final look. Okay, so most of the time you spend, right, it's not in the blocking, it's in all these things, okay, making sure that everything is smooth and it looks just like your image here. Okay, last thing, very last thing, I promise. So save your work, and the last step we're going to do is create color. So you can go ahead and follow with me as well, and then we will end the lesson for today. So how do you create a color for your mesh? Okay, if you right click on your mesh, and at the bottom you'll see something called assign new material. Okay, so select assign new material, and in this open window select blend. So there's only two shaders that we're going to explore in our semester. One is blend and one is Lambert. And these are the two shaders that game engines can accept. Other shaders, right, are only for Maya. Okay, and most other programs, they have their own. So when you work solely in Maya, it's a point because you can create a lot more stuff. Yeah, like for example, Anistrophic is for CD. I know you don't have CD anymore, but for pots and pans, right, the highlight is circular. So it's a very special disc-like shape that only Anistrophic can create. Hair, your hair highlight is done by Anistrophic. Okay, then you have other things like hair tube shader, blah blah blah. It's all for animation. But if you're doing games, right, games is another software altogether. So, you know, not everything can bring over. So these are the two very basic. It's created from the beginning. That's why everybody shares the same thing. Okay. So blend is shiny, Lambert is matte. Got it? These two. So blend is for metal, glass. Lambert is for your wall. You know, anything that's not reflective, it's not shiny. Yeah. Okay, so let's click on blend, and instantly you can see that your mesh is shiny like plastic. Okay, and I'm going to assign a color to my blend. So if you right click and choose material attribute, right click material attributes, okay, you can bring up the settings for your material. So I'm going to give it a quick name, car body BLN. BLN for blend. Okay, and then I'm going to change the color here to red and click. Oh, okay, it's done. So I'm going to change to okay, any rate that you want lah, right? I'm running out of time, so don't care. Okay, looks nice. Yay. Okay, so it's done. Oh, we forgot. We need to name our mesh, right? If we don't name, it's gonna get very confusing. So you can open your outliner at the bottom. Okay, double click the name and choose car body. Okay, so give it a name so you know what to do. Okay, next one, we're gonna create colors for the window. So in Maya, you can actually select where you want to put what color. Yes, face. Well done. Okay, so I'm gonna select all the face. And remember, I was talking about selecting face loops, something that is slightly harder than edge loop. Edge loop, just double click, right? Face loop, you need to select the first face. Okay, yes. Okay, first face. Control Shift. Okay, Control Shift is to add, right? Double click on the adjacent face. Click. Control Shift. Control Shift really know how it does. Double click. Okay. So actually, what's extra? The first one, right? The first one is really the extra one. Double click is what we already know, isn't it? Okay. Once you double click, you select the surrounding. You can slowly, or you use your brush. Brush. Okay lah. Brush you all haven't learned yet. Don't bother. Okay. Just click. That's why I say the more lines you create, right, you click longer. That's basically it. Okay, go to wireframe, make sure that that's the only thing you're selected. Now we're gonna assign new material again. Okay, so new material, blend. Okay, sometimes the settings come out immediately. If you lose it, oops, where they go, right? If you lose it, you need to go to material attributes, but oops, again is the wrong material attributes. How do I get back to the window? You need to go to the face, right click and material attribute, then you get back your. Okay, so car, window, blend. Now you know why naming is so important, right? Change color, change to blue. Okay, and okay. Oops. Again. Okay. Right? Trick question. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said trick. Question. For the other windows, do you create new material?
No.
Yes, no, yes, yes. No? No? Don't know? Okay, answer is no. Okay, if you can save on the number of materials, you save on resources. So especially in games, you want to reuse things as much as possible. Okay, we are the most environmentally friendly people in the world. So we want to make sure that we use back our material. Again, I'm gonna just select my other window. Okay, I'm gonna okay, click. Oops. Right click. There's okay, maybe I should zoom in for you. Okay, right click. Assign existing material. So if you have been a good kid and name your stuff consistently, you're gonna be really happy with yourself. Okay? If everything blend 1, 2, 3, I think you redo. Alright, so choose car window. And then you get your blend back. Now there's something called Lambert 1, right? Don't ever touch that, okay? Don't ever change that color. Why? Okay, let me just decide to be funky. Oops. Okay, okay, I'll just create something new. Okay. Let's say that I have a new cube, right? And I look at my Material attributes. Hey, number 1. No need create new material. Just change color lah. Okay. Ta-da. Okay, done. Am I efficient or what, right? Okay, so very efficient, very cool. You're very happy with yourself. Next thing, let's create a new sphere. Whoops. Oh god. Let's create a new. Whoops. Okay, it changes the default. Alright, now it looks fine, but if you start painting, everything will have that paint, okay? So it's gonna start to look really horrible after a while. So leave Lambert 1 alone, okay? Just use your own material. Okay, so that's it for today. Can you try to take 1 minute? Okay, go and assign some material. Okay, change some color. Get used to whatever that's going on. Find the menu, and then we'll end today's lesson at this stage.